First Corinthians chapter 14, verse 40. Let all things be done decently and in order. A network without a firewall isn't open. It's compromised. It's not a matter of if it gets hit, but when. Your home's no different. If you don't have a security policy for your family, like structure, discipline, and emotional control, you're running a zero security environment. Today, we're talking about installing firewalls. We're talking about why structure is the ultimate form of love. Section 1, structure creates safety, not control. 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 33 teaches us, for God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints. Structure isn't about control. It's about clarity. We all once was a kid, so I'm pretty sure we can understand that kids don't feel safe when rules change with your moods. So try to keep a level head when you're administering rules and explaining things to the little ones. They also don't feel secure when expectations are vague. So speak in terms that they can understand. One thing my mom used to say when I was younger, you got to get on a child's level so they can understand you. But also those kids feel safe when those boundaries are consistent, predictable, and enforced. Kind of like in grade school, right? The teacher always goes over the rules first and constantly give kids reminders. So if they can enforce this, you can have control and enforce these rules as well within your home. Because we all know a lot of times kids behave one way at school and another at home. And some folks just chalk it up to the fact that this is the environment they're normally comfortable in. So when there's no routines, like bedtimes, times when they brush their teeth, they're supposed to clean their plate when they're eating, no standards, no order. And that's just confusion. See, in security, unclear policies create blind spots, and blind spots often get exploited. And in fatherhood and parenthood in general, unclear expectations do exactly the same. They create anxiety, insecurities, and instability. See, when kids don't know what's allowed, they don't relax. They scan for danger. Here's some tips. Define those house rules clearly. Most households have a daily routine. When you wake up, thank God for waking us up. Make your bed, head on downstairs, eat breakfast, or brush your teeth first. Also clean your plate, throw away your trash, clean up after yourself, use manners. You can also use visual aids in your household as well. I know some people typically explain house rules to their kids orally. I do the same thing in my household as well. And of course, often you have to revisit these things and give kids constant reminders because not all kids learn the same. Some kids are visual learners, some kids are auditory learners, and some are tactile learners, or can't really think of the word, kinesthetic learners. There we go. And with that being said, you have to pay attention to how your kid learns so you can be more effective at administering whatever rules necessary. Make sure you enforce them consistently, not emotionally. See, structure sends a signal for your kids to feel before they understand things. And with these approaches, this house is covered, someone's alert, and someone's always in control. That's protection, because order produces peace. Hold on. Before we go any further, time out. You value content that help you lead, protect, and build stronger systems at home? Hit the subscribe, tap the like, drop a comment. So this content reach more people who's looking for discipline, intention, and accountability. All right, back to the episode. Section 2. Discipline is your incident response plan. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 11 says, Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceful fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. Think of discipline like an incident response plan. When a breach happens, kind of like your kids having a bad behavior, you don't panic and you don't spank them or smash the server. You execute a protocol. You correct them. You patch the vulnerability, letting them know that that's not the way they should be acting. You teach them the lesson and you bring the system back online. If you're screaming, you aren't leading. You're just part of the outage. In cybersecurity, policies without enforcement are useless. So in fatherhood, rules without follow through or a lackluster approach teaches children that authority is optional and I can pick and choose to follow these rules or not. And you get inconsistencies. Consider these practical approaches. Correct the behavior promptly. Don't wait. Address their actions, not their identity, because these actions aren't their identity. And explain the lesson after emotions settle, because we know some kids throw tantrums when you correct them and those boundaries haven't been established. Even if they have, sometimes kids, they just forget things and you just have to reiterate it to them. Some things may require aggressive punishment, as I call it, because you can start off with a verbal warning Then you can take something away. You can put them in timeout. Some people choose to whoop. Don't just come out the gate whooping your kids, because obviously that can have negative repercussions. But progressive discipline. But make sure you check yourself, because depending on whatever that infraction is with the kids, you have to check yourself to find out, did I really teach them this? Or is there a gap where maybe I need to explain to them the repercussions for this action? So just don't be emotional about it. Be a teacher and lead. Discipline says, I love you enough to correct you. If you're not correcting your kids or correcting your loved ones, then that shows a lack of love, because obviously when people don't know the right way of doing things and they go out into the world and do things out of order, problems happen. So whatever you don't check in your own home becomes a world problem. And a father who avoids discipline avoids responsibility. Section 3, emotional leadership is self-mastery. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 32 says, he that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. See, in security incidents, people panic. It just causes more damage, more than the breach itself. You have to have emotional intelligence towards these things. Same thing at home. See, your kids learn emotional regulations by watching you, not by listening to a lecture. Now, I'll be honest with you. I tend to lecture my kids. I kind of joke on myself in the way of like the Cosbys, but overall, your kids pay attention to your actions regardless. So be mindful of your habits. So let's say a chief information security officer who panics during a company hack. They're supposed to lead and direct people to their respective duties and run the playbooks for the incident response plan. But if this person's chaotic and all over the place and uncalculated, they're practically useless, and you don't want to be like that. As a father, your command presence determines the temperature of your house. So if you come home stressed out and you're snapping on the kids, you're malware to the whole system. You're the virus introducing instability into your home. You have to firewall your work stress before you walk through the doors. So if work stressed you out for the day, before you go in the house, maybe sit in the driveway or take a ride around the block and calm yourself down before you go into that house with a clear mind. Because if you explode, they learn that instability from you. Wow, I haven't seen dad all day long. And he comes in the house barking and yelling and fussing at everybody. And also, if you shut down, they learn avoidance as well. So consider these practical approaches. When something happens in the house, or when one of the kids do something, let's say they break a glass, obviously you make sure you check on their safety first, clean up the mess, and clear them out of the way, and administer band-aids if needed. But when you talk to them, you pause before responding. Regulate your emotions. Speak emotions out loudly but calmly, and apologize when you're wrong. Because we all know kids make noise throughout the house. Let's say you're in another room and you hear somebody crying. We all know our kids, and we know the one that typically gets into stuff more than others. When you make your presence known and you show up in the space, you just ask everybody questions, who did what, and have them take their time explaining to you what happened, instead of just blowing up on everybody because they're making noise or somebody's hurt. And honestly, when you take your time doing this, it's not a sign of weakness. It's your command presence. And a man who can govern himself can govern his house. Section 4, routines are automated scripts. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6 says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. See, routines are your automated scripts, right? If you have to manually negotiate bedtime every single night, you're probably going to be stressed out, and it's like you're wasting CPU cycles. So automate the basics: morning hygienes, evening prayers, homework time, meal time, so you have the bandwidth for the complex stuff, or so you have the nerve for the bigger issues that may arise. Here's some practical approaches. Obviously, when you get up in the morning, you thank God for waking you up. You teach your little ones that. You make sure they make their beds. Obviously, their clothes are already out for the school day to get the day started. You gave yourself enough time to get yourself ready, so you're not rushing them, creating anxiety. Rather, you or your wife start breakfast. You send them down to brush their teeth, wash their faces, clean themselves up and present themselves to eat breakfast, then get ready. Same thing with the evenings, how your kids wind down when they get home from school. Of course, they've been at school all day. They probably want to run around a little bit. You give them time to play, you give them a snack, and then you have them hit the books, do their homework. Once they're done, they eat dinner, have a little bit more playtime, maybe read a book, take baths, settle in for the night, rinse and repeat. And also you can do family weekly check-ins where throughout the week, or if you pick a specific day, depending on your work schedule, you sit down, you talk to your kids, find out what's going on with them, have that one-on-one time where you could actually have them open up to you about things, because that really matters. We could throw money at whatever family resource or thing is needed, putting food on the table, keeping a roof over everybody's head, buying the kids toys. All of that stuff's good, but what's more important is the one-on-one time, your presence. Overall, have a system, because systems reduce friction and routines reduce conflict, and what's consistent doesn't require force. Section 5, presence is non-negotiable. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4 says, "And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonishment of the Lord." See, you can't outsource fatherhood. You could send the kids to karate class, you could send them to a speech therapist, you could send them to tutoring, but you can't outsource fatherhood. Money doesn't replace your presence, as I stated before, and silence doesn't build peace. Of course, you may need to take a moment to collect your thoughts, but come back, because if you distance yourself, it'll create distrust. And that's not something you want to create. Trust me, your kids read your facial expressions, and obviously nobody likes someone looking at them in disappointment. So those facial expressions better come with some context and an explanation, because you have to be accountable to yourself, God, and those kids. So be mindful what you tell them as well. You always want to encourage your kids, correct them, and guide them. God blessed us with them for a reason. So whatever tools you need, figure it out. Here's some practical approaches. As stated before, it's cool to talk to your kids about the day and have them download on that little ride home from school. But commit yourselves to giving your kids individually 5 minutes or more to talk to you one-on-one. Make sure you're attentive. Make sure you're not on your phone, you're not distracted, and your eyes are on them. And if you got to drop to a knee, so be it. Ask them real questions. How was your day? If you took a test, how do you think you did on the test? What do you think you could do better? What do you need from me? How can I help you? Questions also like, what challenged you today? How did you feel about that? What did you learn? And where do you think you need help? See, presence is a strong signal of leadership. Section 6, every house needs a mission statement. Yeah, I said it, a mission statement. Joshua chapter 24, verse 15. "And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom ye will serve. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." Every secure system has a mission. If your kids don't know what your family stands for, then the system's undocumented. And undocumented systems fail. Here's a practical approach. Think about the values that you want your family to embody, that you want your children to always remember. This is part of your legacy, to be honest with you. For me, I want all my children to understand what discipline, intention, and accountability is. DIA. But anybody who's watching this right now, I want you to go to the comment section. Type out your family's 3-word mission statement. And honestly, if you don't have one, just type under construction. But don't leave today without a plan to establish your family's mission statement. Find your family values, speak them consistently, and model them daily. Clarity creates alignment. Protect your house. Proverbs chapter 20:18. "Where there is no mission, the people perish, but he that keepeth the law, happy is he." The hackers don't waste much time on protected systems. They hunt for what's unguarded. And honestly, the culture that we live in today, they out here hunting for your children that's unguarded and left astray with no context of what family really is and what they're supposed to be modeled to. Structure isn't harsh, it's cover. Discipline isn't abuse, it's love with boundaries. And leadership isn't optional, it's the assignment. And let's be clear, your kids don't need another buddy. They don't need somebody who they could catch vibes with, and they don't need permission to run wild. They need a father who stands watch, who holds the line, who refuses to sleep while on guard and leaving the gate open. It's not control, it's protection.